Hello ladies and gentlemen, guys and ghouls, my name's Kevin and welcome to my channel, The Art of Horror. In today's video I will be discussing American Horror Story Apocalypse, Episode 2, The Morning After. Waiter, there's a snake in my soup, gimp chandeliers, we have a replicant to hunt down, and why you should never carry a heavy backpack on just one shoulder. To say things got weird this episode is definitely an understatement. So just what the hell is going on at Outpost 3? In the opening scene we see a bunch of candles blow out in Emily's room from a mysterious breeze. When she relights the candles and opens up her closet, she is accosted by snakes. Miriam Mead, head of security, quickly comes running in response to the ruckus, and her henchwoman rapidly dispatch of all the snakes. So any theories I put forward at this point are probably in vain, but I'll give it a go anyway. I'd love to hear your take on what you think's going on. So to me, all the candles blowing out is highly suggestive of a secret passageway being opened as somebody fills Emily's closet full of snakes. I think the snakes are actual real reptiles, though everything in this episode I don't think was actually real. When the occupants of Outpost 3 sit down to their snake soup that evening, when they take the lids off their bowls, they are accosted by even more of these scaly reptiles, freaking them all the hell out. All of this coinciding with the mysterious arrival of Michael Langdon from the cooperative. It's at this point we discover that the mysterious Mr. Langdon would like to interview each of the occupants in a process he calls cooperation. They show during these cooperations, in the very few interviews that they do in this episode, that he is clearly trying to uncover each occupant's major weakness, which is a massive insight into what makes each character tick. As we see Mr. Langdon scratching at the surface, getting to each of their insecurities one by one. Here we learn Evan Peters' character, Mr. Gallant, has a deep-rooted hatred for his grandmother, as he perceives her as trying to force him into a pigeonhole, of which he clearly does not see himself fitting. We also find out that Sarah Paulson's character, Miss Wilhelmina Venable, suffers from sclerosis of the spine, and once again see she is very willing to break the rules when she perceives things as turning sexual between her and Mr. Langdon. We also see this episode the return of the Rubber Man from Murder House, whose arrival at the same time as Michael Langdon cannot be a coincidence. Mr. Gallant has a rendezvous with the Rubber Man, who he thinks is Michael Langdon, dressed in a gimp suit. Grandma Gallant gets nosy at the sound of noises coming from her grandson's room, has a peek, and sees her grandson engaged with the Rubber Man. At which point she promptly goes and informs on her grandson instantly, trying to gain her place in the sanctuary Mr. Langdon has promised. Timothy and Emily have a nosy around Michael Langdon's room. There just happens to be an open laptop laying on the bed. They open this up and discover a bunch of information about the co-op. But the most important piece of information that they find relates to them, which is that Miss Venable has been making up the rules concerning sexual activity between occupants of Outpost 3. Their response to this, of course, is to straight ahead go and try and make love. At which point they are caught red-handed. They try and defend themselves with this new information, but Miss Venable won't have any of that, and promptly takes them away to be executed. Now here's my theory on what's going on, and if I'm wrong, please don't jump on me or be too harsh, as this is just a complete stab in the dark at this point. I think anything could happen. Mr. Gallant, after being freed from his torture room, which he was actually enjoying, is sitting in a lounge feeling quite sad about things, with an extremely melancholy song playing on the radio. And we all know that the songs on the radio do not change very often. At the exact moment that the song changes, he notices the gimp, the Rubber Man, standing in the doorway, beckoning him to come with him. Mr. Gallant follows the Rubber Man, thinking of course it's Langdon, and in the midst of falling around, reaches for a pair of what I'm guessing to be hairdressing scissors, stabbing the Rubber Man to death. At this point we see that he's actually stabbing his grandmother, Joan Collins. and has killed her. I think in the few instances in this episode we see the Rubber Man, he is an actual human in a gimp suit. I think at the start where we see him getting with Mr. Gallant, he's an actual person. I think when he's hanging from the ceiling above Emily and Timothy as they're snooping on the laptop, he is an actual person. But I think when the song changes, it's possibly a hypnotic suggestion. And I think that they have all been affected by some form of hypnosis or hysteria, either caused through a drug or hypnotic suggestion, or both. I think at the point the song changes, it is a trigger for Mr. Gallant, which plays upon his insecurities, tricking him into dispatching of his grandmother, which is the exact effect I think Mr. Langdon wanted it to have. We also see when Emily and Timothy are about to be executed, they make a daring break for it, gain control of a gun, and shoot Miriam Mead. We see Miriam Mead leave the room and she checks her wound, at which point we see she does not have human blood and organs, but the same sort of blood we see in Blade Runner or Aliens, of what we would expect an android to have, and her insides look machine-like. My personal theory is at this point she is actually hallucinating as well, and this is also a hypnotic suggestion. She isn't actually an android. But what better way to have security perceive itself than that of a robot? As if she's not human, she has nothing to lose. Also this episode we learn that there are mutants roaming the wasteland, cannibalistic human mutants. Or at least that's what Mr. Langdon tells us. And we learn that all the other outposts have been overrun, the occupants massacred. Whether this is true or not at this point remains unclear. I do believe, however, that the rumours of cannibalistic humans roaming the countryside is 100% true. I think everything that's been happening since Mr. Langdon arrived at Outpost 3 is a test for the occupants. A test which I can't help but feel the majority of them are going to fail. There is a reference this episode to the Hunger Games, and I don't think this is coincidental at all. So I'm going to make a prediction at this point, and my prediction is that the only survivors are going to be Emily and Timothy, as I think all the occupants of Outpost 3 are going to murder each other, as they are tricked through hallucination, manipulation, and suggestion. And I think things at Outpost 3 are going to escalate very quickly. So there you have it. There's my thoughts on the second episode of American Horror Story. I know a lot of the fans on Threads haven't seemed to enjoy this second episode, but personally I'm still really enjoying it, and the whole vibe of the show. And I think this episode is a necessary step in the telling of quite a complex story. I'm very interested to see where things go in episode 3. So do you have any theories yourself on what's going on in episode 2? If so, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear your own ideas. Once again, these are just my own thoughts, and they're definitely not 100% right. And I love hearing from you guys about your own theories, as it helps me work out what's going on as well. And quite often I miss things. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to my channel and you would like to see more videos like this from me, please feel free to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to be told of any new uploads. I'll be back soon with some more subscriber suggested art and also more discussion next week for episode 3 of American Horror Story. This has been Kevin for The Art of Horror. Until next time, goodbye from me.